Sorry, Genevieve, I was muted, talking the whole time. So, working on the perspective drawing, taking it further. I have to just go over this again since I was muted for Genevieve. This will be due on Wednesday, okay? Just to reiterate, due on Wednesday. It's not a specific time on Wednesday, so that means it's due at 11:59 p.m. on Wednesday. So you have till the actual end of day on Wednesday to turn it in. Depending on where we're at tomorrow, Melanie, I will ask you a question. You can put your hand up. Where we're at tomorrow is a class. If I would say like 80% of us are like, yeah, I think I'm done and ready by the end of class, then on Wednesday, we'll look at maybe talking about what's happening next. If it seems like 80% of you on Tuesday are like, yeah, no, I'm not ready, I want Wednesday as a work day, then we'll leave it as a work day. And then Thursday and Friday, we'll move into working on and fleshing out real perspective drawing. So that means that you are to use today and tomorrow as a work day on the perspective drawing, just like the house. Even if you think you might be done, they are work days. So there is stuff that you can add or find out to make sure you did it correct. Okay. Melanie, you had a question? It's totally up to you, but if you get to a point where you're like, I don't know what else to do, then I would say both.
Do they come from the midpoint?
They come from the vanishing point. That is correct. Wood paneling on the wall. If they run like this across, they would come from the vanishing point. If wood paneling on the wall was something that was vertical, let's say like if I had vertical wood paneling, anyone have that in their house, or there's like wood paneling maybe in a basement and it runs vertically, that would not come from the vanishing point, and it would sit on there kind of like this. Okay, both are decent options, but if it runs across, then they are orthogonal lines. Okay, so Autumn, we have got an inset, we've got a pit. What we were going to do was we were going to make a fan. Okay, so you have the little window footprint thing, correct? Okay, so our next step on that is that we need to find the midpoints. Okay, so what I'm going to do is for the midpoints on this footprint on the side, I'm just going to kind of eyeball where I imagine the middle to be right here. And then I'm going to just put 2 marks. What I could do if I wanted to really be sure is I could just, of course, just measure it. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That was 7, 7.5. Wow, it was really close. Okay, so I've got the midpoints. I'm going to mark them off. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to find the midpoint from vertical to vertical. So if I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've got 5 there. Now, a big thing with this is perspective drawings always get bigger as they get to the side of the paper, right? Everything gets bigger. So when I find the halfway point of this square, I can't make them the same size because that would throw my drawing off. So what I'm going to do, if this is 5 across, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go somewhere a little bit closer to 2, and the next one being 3. Okay, does that make sense? No? Okay, so like tiles, right? If I'm going to make ceiling tiles, right? As I make them, they get bigger, correct? That makes sense, right? The ceiling tiles have to get bigger. Why don't we just finish that off while we're doing ceiling tiles? What I'm going to do is I'm then going to measure this. And I'm going to put a couple marks across. 1, 2, 3, pretty close. Okay. I'm going to draw on the orthogonal lines. Ceiling tiles are pretty straightforward. Okay, but it makes sense they get bigger as they get to the edge of the paper, correct? Okay, these ceiling tiles are the same size. On the paper, the reality is they're not. You'd say, Mr. Simonson, clearly this one is bigger than that one. They're not the same size. Like, you are correct. But in reality of the paper, the space, the real dimension, if I were to be inside of there, those ceiling tiles are the same. It's just they appear to be bigger because they are closer. Just like this ceiling tile appears to be bigger than that ceiling tile way down there because it's closer, right? Does that make sense? Okay. Do you have a question? Yeah, there's some on that spinny thing. Okay. So, you follow me there, Autumn? The things that are on the side of the paper have to be bigger, right? Okay. Now, if this footprint that we're going to put our fan in, we're looking at it, and I want to make, split it in half, right? If I split something in half, let's just say, keep it easy, 100, right? If I split 100 in half, it's 50-50, right? But if we follow the rules, first perspective drawing, that the thing closer to the side of the paper has to be bigger, right? Can I split it 50-50? Would that make sense? No, because if it has to get bigger, because it's moving to the side of the paper, I can't split, if we were to say this was 100, right? 100 units, whatever, 100 millimeters. I can't split it 50-50 because the one on the right should be bigger. So if I split it like, say, 60-40, right? Does that kind of make sense? I'm kind of dividing it in a little bit of a different way. So if I say it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units over, halfway would be 2.5 right there, right? So if I just want to split it in half, I'm just going to move my line over just a little bit closer to one side than the other. Does that make sense? You follow me on that? I'm just, instead of splitting in half, right where, understand, like I've got 5 units and I'm going to put it 2.5. Instead of putting it 2.5, I'm just going to go to the right a little bit. And then I'm going to say that's half. Because I want it to appear that the right half on my little square is bigger. Does that make sense? Sort of. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little mark right there, closer to 2, so that one is bigger. And I use a vertical line, and I'm just going to carry that to the top and bottom to create midpoints. Okay. Things that you guys can think about adding. You could try shading this. If you get to a point where you're like, hey, I'm done, what else do I do? Add shading, okay? Or add more details. What other things can be in a hallway? Maybe there's a poster on the wall. Maybe this tiny little brick wall, if you have an inset, this tiny little inset should be brick. Or maybe there's a door there. You can certainly add more details than what's required, but you should have the minimum that's on the site. Okay, so are we ready, Adam? Do we have our footprint with our midpoints? Okay, so if you remember from analytical drawing, when we were drawing circles, ellipses, cylinders, we would draw a square to help us figure out how to draw that ellipsis. So what we're going to do is we have the midpoints of a square, so what we're going to do is we're going to draw a circle inside of it, or an ellipsis.
Isn't it more of an oval?
Sure. It's kind of an odd circle. It's technically, like the reality, if I were in there and I were looking at this straight on, and if I were standing right here and looking at it right that way, it would be a circle. Because it's kind of odd shaped and stretched a little bit, we're going with an ellipsis. We'll look up the technical term between the difference of ellipsis and oval in a minute. So we have this, right? You set on that, Autumn? Do you have the ellipsis drawn in yet? No? Okay. Yeah, your ellipsis. All right. So we have our circle. Okay. So what we're going to do is we want to find the center of that circle. So what we're going to do is we're just going to reline up our midpoints, and we are going to put a little bit of a mark right there, just to kind of illustrate where the exact center of that is. All right, and what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of draw in a little bit of a bubble, kind of for the center of the span. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of eyeball kind of a small square shape in here. Okay. Being that I have that center, I can kind of estimate where the square would be. Okay. So what I'm going to do is just kind of throw in this small square right there. Okay. I'm going to draw on another tiny little ellipsis. And then I'm going to remove that extra stuff. I have a little circle right there. Alright. Got this? Ready? Okay. So with this, we're going to just basically draw in a little bit of a dome. And we're just going to, oops, that is the eraser. Cool. Okay, we're just going to use this to draw in a little bit of a dome. So basically what I'm going to do is, like when we're drawing a sphere, an analytical drawing, I'm going to use this to kind of illustrate a dome shape. Adding in an extra couple lines. Okay, and then basically all we need to do to add in a fan shape is we are just going to throw in some kind of curved lines right here, evenly spaced throughout. We're going to also try to make the ones on this side a little bit bigger. But I'm just going to throw in a curved line.
How do you make this like the little sphere again in the middle?
I drew in a circle, and then I just kind of, when we were making those sphere shapes, basically it's like I have that ellipsis, and then I imagine I kind of throw in those like half moon shapes to help illustrate that it is a sphere.
Okay.
It might be that I had to erase some of my lines, but I don't like that one. All right, and then to designate the difference, I'm just going to color in parts of that to show that some of it is not the family. All right, and once I've got that in, I can then erase some of this extra information. Remove that unless you really want it, if you think it has the nice fan aesthetic. All right. Anyone else have questions while they're working on anything that's come up? Concerns or their project details they're not sure about? Yeah, that would work. I mean, technically it's wood paneling, so yeah. And I mean, these you could say it's wood paneling. I mean, they're just big long ones. Some of them are kind of close, like some of your doorways. I would say like this curves a little bit more, and like this one. But I mean, they're close, so they're not. It just depends on how far you want to get, but they are kind of close where they don't immediately notice them. But if you were wanting to, they could. Got the fan on them?
Yeah.
All right, so we've got two more things we need to do quick. We need to make an outset, which is just kind of like a object that sit out of it, and then we have a spike. Is there anything else I'm forgetting that we did on the first drawing? Spike, outset.
We
Okay.
did a door.
Oh, doors.
That's
Yeah.
the other thing.
I mean, we can throw in a door quick. Doors are pretty easy. Basically, you have a vertical line that you throw in, designating where it's going to be and how high you want to put it. So however tall you draw that vertical line in, is how high you're going to make the door. Then you're going to put an orthogonal line that's going to come from the vanishing point off of. Okay, you're going to put an orthogonal line in off of the top of that vertical line to designate how far wide or how far over that door goes. Okay, so if you want a really wide double door, then you want to take it quite a bit further. If you want just kind of a regular door, you're going to just take it a little bit. Then off of wherever that orthogonal line ended, I'm just going to carry that down to the base. And then I've got a door. And if it's a double door, make sure you throw in a second vertical line, third vertical line to designate the door. And you would put in some door handles if you want. Okay, so door is pretty straightforward. Right, so a spike kind of is a bit like the fan in how it starts. Is we have to draw in a footprint for where we want it to be. So somewhere on the floor, we're going to draw a horizontal line over. Okay, this shows where my spike is going to start. So then what I'm going to do is off of that horizontal line, I'm going to draw in a orthogonal line designated how far deep or the depth of my spike is going to be. And then I'm going to use that. And I could go the other way if I wanted to draw in the second orthogonal to confirm or to draw in the other side. I could do that and estimate where I think it's going to end. Basically, I just got to close it off with a horizontal line, and generally whenever I end up doing it, sometimes I have to just like go back and make sure that that square is closed. Okay, that was right there. We decided when we were doing this all as a group, we were going to make a pyramid spike. So we are just going to find the midpoints of our square. So this is just like before. What you want to do is measure your back line right here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. So I'm just going to put it right at 2.5. And then I'm going to carry that midpoint from the front to the back, designating where the center of the square is. And then I'm going to do the same thing vertically, just like we did over there. I want to make sure that I make the front a little bit bigger than the back. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go about like 1 3/4 for my halfway point. And then I've got my midpoints. And I'm just going to find the dead center of my footprint. Okay, just like that. Good? Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm going to carry a vertical line from the midpoint up. Now, for me personally, I've got a lot of stuff going on. However tall I draw this next line will be how tall the spike is. Now, I could either carry it way past the pit, or I could go right there. Just for fun, I'm going to carry a vertical line all the way up to here, right there. So I have that vertical line right there. What I'm going to do is now I'm going to connect to the top of that vertical line to each corner. Okay. Now, I would erase whatever is inside of that vertical line, or inside of these vertical lines, taking away this vertical line that I just drew. some of that extra horizontal. Now, if I'm thinking about this spike, what I would see and what I wouldn't, I'm going to see these two diagonal lines, but being that this one is right here, I'm not going to see this one. So I'm going to erase that one as I'm cleaning all this up. And because I'm doing it digitally, I can kind of erase it a little bit easier. This is why it's important to draw lightly as you go. Okay, and there we go. Spike. Questions? No? All right, so one more quick thing. We're going to draw an outset. Let's say, like, good example is this little shelf thing. If I were drawing this room, this right here would be an outset. When we draw the perspective drawing in the hallway, if you were to put in that heater, that's an outset. Okay, the one outside of Mr. Norris's room. So what we're going to do is, just like before, we're going to create a small footprint, kind of like making a door, but we're going to make ours just a little bit smaller. I'm going to put a vertical line in designating the height of my object. I'm going to draw in a orthogonal line designating the width or the depth of my object. And then I'm going to carry a vertical line down from where that ending where the footprint of this outset is going to be. So this one we're going to keep pretty small, not anything too crazy, all right? Good. All right. So what we need to do is we need to carry over some horizontal lines designating how far out into the space it comes. So I'm going to start on the furthest away vertical line. A person could do this on the closer vertical line if they really wanted to. To me, it just makes more sense in my head to start further away and work forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a perfectly horizontal line off of the corner of where my orthogonal and vertical meet. And however far over this line goes designates how far into the space my outset goes. All right. So I'm going to draw that in. I'm now going to, if I were smart about it, I can measure how far that goes. So what I'm going to do is line this up and carry mine over just a little bit further. So it's 4 units. And then what I'm going to do is draw another horizontal line where that same vertical meets the primary orthogonal, and I'm going to draw it over 4 as well. Okay. Then I'm just going to connect those two horizontal lines with a vertical. So now, basically, what I've got is like a tiny little back wall again. Good there, Autumn? Okay. So, I've got this in here. Now, there's a couple steps I could go with to show how this moves forward. Now, I don't necessarily know. I know there's an orthogonal that comes off of there. I don't know where it stops. I know there's a horizontal that comes off of there. I don't know where it stops. So the next set of lines I'm going to draw, you could really go either way, and I'm going to go both ways for the top and then the bottom. We'll try in different fashions. So on this first one, I'm going to go horizontally. What I'm going to do is draw horizontal over from this corner, and I'm going to keep drawing over till where I think at least I know for sure it's past. Okay, we've got lots of time. Okay. So now that I've got that in, I'm going to line this up with my vanishing point and the corner of that mini back wall, and I'm going to draw in an orthogonal. Okay. And then with that orthogonal line, I know this one for sure. I'm going to carry that over to where it hits the horizontal. Okay, just right there. Then I can re-solidify this line, making sure that I draw that all the way in, showing the very top of that outset. Okay. Now, if I were going to do that the other way, I would line an orthogonal line up, my ruler up with the very bottom corner, carry this orthogonal down, not knowing where for sure to stop. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is draw in a horizontal line off of where this vertical and orthogonal meet. Carry that over till I hit the orthogonal. Then I can re-solidify that orthogonal line that I wasn't quite sure about. Okay, and then I would just connect my corners. And boom, I have, it's a little off, an outset. Yay. Now, for today, being that it was a work day. We have perspective, number workday, 12/7/2020. Upload your progress from today here, okay? So turn in this right there. So document what you have and upload it. Okay? Again, something I should remind you, no one should have this turned in as of yet. Project Awesome should not be turned in because we still have one more workday. So you can't be done with it yet since we still have one more workday left. So make sure you upload to the workday for today. Whatever happens that you've done, upload it there. Okay?